It's 10 o'clock, I'm Matt Barbet. This is Sky News at 10, our top story. Nigel Farage insists he'd send Afghan men and women back to their home country and clarifies when he'd stop illegal crossings if reform came to power.
You'll stop the boats?
Within 2 weeks of passing the legislation, we'll stop the boats, yes.
So you'll pass the legislation to stop the boats?
Well, we can't stop the boats now, no one can.
Sir Keir Starmer's reshuffle continues as a senior minister insists the government is not in crisis. More than 400 arrests at a demonstration in support of the banned group Palestine Action. In Gaza City, the Israeli assault continues amid promises of a new humanitarian zone. And in Australia, a surfer dies on a Sydney beach after being attacked by a shark. Plus, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30. Good evening. Nigel Farage has confirmed to Sky News that he would deport both male and female Afghan asylum seekers back to their country if he was to become Prime Minister. The Reform leader had previously said he would not send women back to Afghanistan because their rights are so heavily restricted by the ruling Taliban. And in the wake of Angela Rayner's resignation, Mr Farage also attempted to clarify the tax situation relating to his own properties. He sat down with our political editor Beth Rigby on the final day of Reform's party conference in Birmingham.
Nigel Farage's Reform soaring in the polls and dominating the headlines with eye-catching policies. His latest, a pledge to stop the boats within 2 weeks of a Reform government. A bold plan, and with more public support comes more public scrutiny. Yesterday, you said you were going to stop the boats within 2 weeks of being in government. You misspoke, didn't you?
No, I didn't say that. I said we'd stop the boats within 2 weeks.
That.
Well, within 2 weeks...
You'll stop the boats?
Within 2 weeks of passing the legislation, we'll stop the boats, yes.
So within 2 weeks, once you change the law, there will be no more boat crossings?
That's right.
On August the 26th, you said women and children, everyone on arrival, will be detained.
Yes.
Is that correct? Will you detain the women and children? Yes. Will you send them back?
Yes, women that arrive by boat will be deported immediately.
To Afghanistan?
Yes, if necessary.
You will send women back to Afghanistan, just on the record?
I'm really sorry. We have a massive crisis in this country.
OK, but just
and
so the British public understand,
I am more concerned.
You will send women and children back to live under the Taliban.
I am more concerned about the rights of British people than I am about those who come here illegally.
Yeah, but you've said two things about this, so I'm trying to clear it up.
Because what I've said is...
on the 27th of August, you said we're not even discussing women and children at this stage.
One, those that arrive by boat will be detained. Men and women will be detained and deported.
Mr Farage flip-flopping on his plans for women when it comes to the Taliban, and admitting in our interview too that he misspoke about owning his constituency home. Last November, you told Sky News, and I'm quoting you exactly here, just exchanged contracts on the house. I've bought a house in Clacton, your constituency, but it's not your house, is it?
I should have said we.
You don't actually own a house in Clacton,
I should have said we, all right? My partner bought it, so what?
OK. Well, the reason I'm asking you is that...
So what?
Isn't it because you own multiple homes and that your partner bought the house in their name and you had nothing to do with it, meant that the standard rate of stamp duty was paid on it?
How dare you? It's her asset. No, how dare you? It's her business, her money, her asset.
Okay,
and you know what? Actually, given that it's in the constituency, for security reasons, it's better that way around.
Yes, but I'm just saying, you said I, and that wasn't true.
All right, I should have said we. I should have said we. All right, it's her money, it's her asset. I own none of it, but I just happen to spend some time there.
I know, but in terms of the sniff test, it's kind of like you said, I bought this house, and it turns out that actually
you know
didn't,
what?
and someone paid less.
It's a really funny thing in life, but sometimes we all say things that perhaps we shouldn't quite have said. I should have rephrased it, but I didn't want to put her. I didn't want to put her in the public domain.
Do you think it makes you look a bit dodgy, though?
No, you can try. You can try as hard as you like. You can try as hard as you like. It's nonsense.
New policies, new politicians, new members. There's a real belief
in this room that the country is moving with reform. That man, Nigel Farage, has built a real movement. The next challenge is to get reform ready to govern, and that requires serious organisation. It also requires a serious set of policies that stand up to scrutiny. That then the next real test for this man and his growing party. Nigel Farage may be adored in this hall and making inroads in the country too, but there's a long way between now and the next general election. Can he both build the momentum and the legitimacy he needs to win? Beth Rigby, Sky News, Birmingham.
The Prime Minister's new Chief Secretary has denied the government is unstable after Keir Starmer's cabinet reshuffle. Darren Jones insisted the major changes announced yesterday had been in the works long before the resignation of the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner. The reshuffle has continued again today, with more announcements made this afternoon, as our political correspondent Rob Powell explains.
The morning after, the upheaval before. Quieter in Downing Street now, but big changes still being made behind closed doors. For his first full day in the job, Sir Keir Starmer's new Mr. Fix-It, putting a positive spin on recent events.
The fact is the Prime Minister had been planning to do a reshuffle on a slightly slower timetable and had started to think about putting the ministers he wanted in the places to really drive on delivering reform in line with the public's priorities. And that was accelerated and brought forward as a consequence of the former Deputy Prime Minister resigning. But I don't think anyone can suggest that the Prime Minister didn't act decisively.
And more decisions today. After being sacked from Cabinet, former Scotland Secretary Ian Murray gets a new job in the Culture and Science departments. Jackie Smith, a Home Secretary under Gordon Brown, joins the new Work and Pensions Super Ministry, adding to her education and skills brief. While Ellie Reeves, the sister of the Chancellor and a trained barrister, loses her Cabinet spot and becomes the new Solicitor General. She's replaced as Labour Party chair by the experienced MP Anna Turley, who will also attend Cabinet. And in more major changes at the Home Office, Borders and Asylums Minister Dame Angela Eagle is moved out to an environment job, with Policing Minister Dame Diana Johnson also leaving for the Department of Work and Pensions. Coming into the Home Office, former Communities Minister Alex Norris and ex-Industry Minister Sarah Jones. But perhaps most significantly, Dover MP Mike Tapp will also join the Home Office, someone who has called for a tougher approach to migration, a clear statement of intent from Number 10.
I think the priority now is for the government to do things. And there was a video earlier in the week in which Keir talked about phase 2 of his government. That was really focused on the internal changes in Number 10. But what he's done now is he's promoted to the cabinet doers, fixers, communicators. And I think he wants to get a grip on the issues of welfare, a grip on the issue of housing, a grip on the issues of small boats.
After Angela Rayner's resignation yesterday, the author of a key plank of her policy remit on workers' rights has also been sacked, with Justin Madders out as an employment rights minister. It can be hard to tease out trends amongst the churn of junior appointments. Some may be more about a new boss wanting to bring in their own people, while others about past failures or missteps. But with a focus on the Home Office and Work and Pensions, this certainly looks like a Prime Minister picking his points of focus and then organising his team around them. But in Angela Rayner's Greater Manchester constituency, scepticism about whether this reboot will really change the government's fortunes.
I voted for Labour in the last one, so I might vote for somebody else now, debating on how everything else turns out.
Well, always voted Labour, but I'll never vote for them again now. You've broken the trust.
Broken promise, said she was going to do things, didn't she, to Ashton, and well, she's done nothing really.
Greeting his new team, this is a Prime Minister trying to grip the political turmoil and turn it to his advantage. Familiar faces, yes, but Sir Keir Starmer now banking on very different outcomes.
Rob is in Westminster for us this evening. In fact, Rob, you're outside the Home Office, and as the dust settles on this wide-ranging reshuffle, that's where the focus is really going to be, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's clear that the Home Office is the place that has seen the biggest
overhaul. You had a lot of movement quite widely today in terms of the junior ministerial ranks, almost 24 appointments, a lot of them existing ministers moving into different jobs, another 10 people sacked, leaving government as well. But just here in the Home Office, 48 hours ago, out of the 6 MPs that served here, well, you have only got now 2 of them left. 4 of them have gone. 1 of them is Yvette Cooper. The other 3 are ministers that have been replaced with other MPs from other parts of the party and from other departments today. And I think if you wanted sort of a visual indication of how high the stakes are for the new Home Secretary, then you can just look at some of the fresh pictures coming in today from the south coast, showing the familiar scenes of people arriving on small boats and being brought ashore. And I think in that context, the most interesting appointment of today is probably Mike Tapp. Now, not a name that many people will know outside Westminster, but he is the MP for the part of the world on the south coast where those pictures get filmed and where those people are brought ashore. Dover. He is also a former soldier. He's someone that's worked in the National Crime Agency as well. He's someone that's got reform chasing him pretty hard in his patch in terms of electorally. But he is also someone, crucially, that has been pretty critical on the government's approach to migration. He thinks that they should have been tougher. He thinks that they should go further on looking at reforming human rights reform as well. And so you've got to think that that is someone that the government believes might be able to make the argument on migration in a more forceful way. But it also clearly, I think, indicates a direction of travel in terms of policy. And I think right on cue, you are seeing quite a lot of briefing in the papers already tomorrow about new plans for migration from this government, including potentially moving migrants from hotels into disused military bases. That would be going back on something Keir Starmer said he wouldn't do before the election. So I think this is politically about reform as well. And also this evening you are getting the new party chair of Labour, Anna Turley, attacking Nigel Farage directly, picking up on that interview that you saw Beth Rigby do with Nigel Farage and saying that she believes that the Reform leader has questions to answer about that home in his constituency in Clacton. Clearly the risk is that by going after reform, Labour starts losing votes on its other flank from people that already think it's moved too far towards Nigel Farage. But I think you sense a pivot is in the offing this evening and the government may have made up its mind about who the real threat to it is.
Rob, many thanks indeed. And as we heard from Rob there, migration, no surprise, is covered in tomorrow's newspapers. The Telegraph story on housing migrants in stray barracks is on their front page. We'll have lots more on that paper and all the others in the press preview at 10:30 with my guests Leon Emirali and Nancy Fielder. Next, the Metropolitan Police says it's made over 400 arrests at a demonstration in support of Palestine Action, the group banned by the government under terror legislation. Hundreds of people attended a rally in London's Parliament Square today. The force added that its officers have been subjected to an exceptional level of abuse. Sky's Laura Bundock was at the protest and sent this.
Shame on you! Shame on you!
The signs they wrote signalled their intent as they awaited their arrest.
Palestine!
They support Palestine Action, a proscribed organisation.
We're here to protest that law, which is equating Palestine Action with terrorists and equating all these peaceful protesters with terrorism.
And that's something you're prepared to be arrested, to go to prison over?
Yes.
Have you ever been arrested before?
No.
But you are prepared to be right now?
I've got nothing to lose. It's a farce. Do I look like a terrorist? For 40 years I've been a nurse and I've never had a speeding ticket. That's why I'm here today, to highlight that it is just a ridiculous law.
The police moved in slowly. They'd warned they'd arrest anyone showing support for Palestine Action, and one by one they did. Most passed peacefully, taken to pop-up processing centres. But there were pockets of tension and hostile clashes as some were hauled off, resisting arrest. Palestine Action is a proscribed organisation, banned by the government under the Terrorism Act. following a campaign of criminal activity, including this attack at RAF Bryce Norton. Organisers of the action want that ban overturned.
It's highlighting that people care passionately in justice, that we need to do everything in our strength to oppose a genocide. It's easy for police resources to be doing what they should do. They drop this stupid ban. It's pretty obvious that we're not terrorists.
They'd hoped these mass arrests would cause maximum disruption.
There are hundreds of people here holding their placards, proclaiming support for Palestine action. They know that in itself is a criminal offence, and so they are sat around, lying around, waiting to be arrested. But with so many people here, it's taking a long time.
It was a challenge for the Met Police. The force said officers were subjected to an exceptional level of abuse. For those arrested, there were long queues into the night. Protesters are now appealing to the new Home Secretary. They don't see this activism as terrorism and vow they'll never back down. Laura Bundock, Sky News, Central London.
Meanwhile, in Gaza, the Israeli military has intensified its assault on Gaza City. A residential block called the Al-Susi Tower was targeted and destroyed as the Israeli Defense Minister again claimed that the gates of hell were opening. Israel's military also announced the designation of what it is calling a new humanitarian area in Al-Mawasi, which is a coastal area outside Khan Yunis. Leaflets have been dropped above Gaza City announcing the new zone and calling on people there to evacuate to the area. A preliminary report into the deadly Lisbon funicular crash on Wednesday has said the cable linking two carriages snapped. Investigators said the operator did immediately activate the brakes, but they failed. A scheduled visual inspection of the brakes had been carried out on the morning of the crash, but the area where the cable broke was not visible without dismantling the cable car. Donald Trump has threatened to unleash the Department of War on Chicago ahead of planned crackdown on immigration enforcement operations in the city. In a post on Truth Social, the US president wrote, "I love the smell of deportations in the morning," a reference to a quote from the film Apocalypse Now. The post was accompanied by an AI-generated image of him dressed as Robert Duvall's character in the movie. The Trump administration has said that Chicago will be its next target in pursuing its mass deportation agenda. Millions of mobile phone users across the UK will receive a test of the National Emergency Alert System tomorrow. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, mobile phones on the 4G and 5G networks will make a siren sound and vibrate for around 10 seconds, accompanied by a message signifying the alert is a drill. The system has been used 5 times since the first test back in 2023, designed to issue warnings to people in the event of national emergencies. Now, 1 in 5 people in the UK identifies as having a visible difference, a mark, a scar or a condition that sets them apart from other people. On screen, these visual markers have long been associated with evil villains and victims rather than lead roles and love interests. Sky's Bethany Manel has spent some time with actors who are battling that stereotype.
Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
With nearly 1 in 5 people in the UK self-identifying as having a visible difference, such as a mark, scar or condition, a leading charity wants to change the way disfigurement is portrayed on screen. Crystal was diagnosed with bone cancer in her upper jaw when she was 18. Her facial difference has opened her eyes to stigma on screen and off.
Pre-cancer, I wasn't aware of how people who had a facial differences were villainized or victimized. Actually experiencing that, and experiencing the trauma, and being so affected by people staring at me in the street, all hate comments about my appearance. And I realized, wait, hold on a second, there's this a narrative in Hollywood especially that's been going on for years and years and years that people are not addressing and seeing that these are real people.
New research carried out by Changing Faces found that people with visible differences were over twice as likely to be shown as a victim or a villain than as the love interest. Women with visible differences are rarely seen on screen.
You often see what I call pretty disabilities, which is a disability that is not going to affect the physical perfection of the actors. And it will also allow for an A-list, usually non-disabled actors to continue to play the characters.
For years, film and TV have used scars, burns and birthmarks as a shorthand for villainy, from superhero films, family musicals to space operas. And the world's best-known spy franchise over many decades.
Shall I hear more, or shall I speak at this?
Romeo was a year old when an accident left him with burns on his chest, neck and stomach. His visible difference has, at times, affected his casting.
Because of my scar on my neck, it looks like I've been stabbed. I would often be asked to try this as like a thug or as someone who's on the streets, and I didn't like being labelled as that. You know, I'm someone who's much more than my scars.
Campaigners say that underrepresentation or misrepresentation of those with visible differences on screen isn't only lazy storytelling, it also reinforces negative stereotypes. It's something teachers at prestigious drama school LAMDA are aware of.
Things won't change overnight, but it will change over time. So we have to put in the work at the grassroots, which is here.
The old adage is, you can't be what you can't see. Perhaps it's time for more inclusive casting, changing the face of representation on screen. Bethany Manel, Sky News.
In Australia, a man has been killed in a shark attack in Sydney, the fourth fatal shark attack in the country so far this year. He'd been surfing with friends at Long Reef Beach in Sydney when it happened. Sky correspondent Nicole Johnston reports now from the city.
A shark attack like this is extremely rare in Australia, but it does happen. Mercury Silakis had been out enjoying a Saturday morning surf in Sydney when the 57-year-old was mauled to death by a shark, only 100 metres from the shore.
There was a guy screaming, I don't want to get bitten, I don't want to get bitten, don't bite me. And I saw the dorsal fin of the shark come up and it was huge. So it actually looked like about a 6-metre shark. It actually looked like something out of Jaws.
Emergency crews responded quickly. They prepare for this. Police say the father, who was an experienced surfer, had lost so much blood. He died from catastrophic injuries.
A large, what we believe to be shark, has attacked him, and as a result of that, he lost a number of limbs. His colleagues managed to make it back to the beach safely, and a short time later, his body was found floating in the surf. Attempts to save his life were unsuccessful, and we understand he leaves behind a wife and a young daughter, and obviously tomorrow being Father's Day, it's particularly critical and particularly tragic.
It's not yet known what species of shark it was. Wildlife officials have been trying to spot it with a drone. So far, no success. The attack has shocked the local community in Dee Why as the news spread across the harbour city. The last time there was an attack like this was 3 years ago. A British diving instructor was swimming in Sydney when he was killed by what officials believed was a great white shark. Here in Sydney, surfing and swimming in the city's more than 100 beaches is a way of life, and no one expects it to ever end like this. Nicole Johnston, Sydney.
It is time for the latest sports now. Here's Rahul at Sky Sports News.
Staying connected is vital for business. Sky Business sponsors this report.
The club made a great pitch to me, that they wanted me. They gave me a 4-year contract. All the stops were out. They made me feel really welcome.
We arrived at the airport there in Madrid, and there were 50, 30, 40, 50 journalists, cameras, and we thought, oh, they come for this movie star, you know. Suddenly we see, Jesus Christ, Jimmy, it's for you.
It's always
difficult losing a great player. Jimmy, for me, was always a world-class striker. Probably not talked about as much, I don't think, as to some of the other great strikers, but I was fortunate enough to play with him.
We obviously made a very good profit on him. If you just take the business transaction, not the football emotion, the transaction was a good deal because we bought him for 2 and we sold him for £12 million.
In 2 years, got 6 times their money. I was not a big earner at the time at the club. So for them, it was a big gain.
He's settling into his new surrounds, the player renamed Judas Floyd Money in the Bank when he was drummed out of Ellen Road. But stories of excessive demands were fictional, according to Atletico's new signing.
I was supposed to stay there. I was supposed to sign a new contract and feel happy. If they can ask 12 million for a player, the rest is all clear.
Were you asking to be the most highly paid player in the Premiership, as we're led to believe?
No, don't believe the figures at all. Don't believe the figures at all.
You didn't want £40,000 a week? Would have been nice, but is that what you were demanding?
That's not what I asked.
Reading the text last night, that was nothing about money from his agent. Well, Jesus, lads, honestly, if that wasn't about money, I don't know, then maybe I'm getting it wrong when he set me there. A lot of you have written good articles about it. And all I'd like to say is that I've seen quotes of 45,000. I think you're being modest to Jimmy on that one, honestly. I wouldn't like to say, but I think you'd be disappointed if you're only saying that, honestly.
Did you feel you had to speak out publicly for the club?
Yes, you have, because we didn't want to sell a top player. I had one of the best number 9s that you could wish to have. It puts me under pressure then. I've got to go out and buy and put your head on the block to buy a number 9. Did we sell a bad player? No, we sold the top player.
It did disappoint me. How everything went, it made me look bad in front of the fans. Was not necessary. The perception that people have of me, the difficult person, blah, 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 that is never there. I would have tried to find a solution.
What we didn't do is say he was a difficult character. I think we alluded to his desire for more money, or other people can put words around what you attribute to people who are just desperate for cash, and we couldn't afford it given we'd found him in the first place. Maybe naive on my part to believe that players wouldn't have the head turned for cash. So yeah, it was difficult, and I understand why Jimmy would think that we publicly probably let him down, but you've got to manage, and frankly I felt let down as well. We just signed him, and I'd offered him 100% pay increase, but he wanted a 300% pay increase, and I couldn't afford it.
That was for me the fuel. That kept me going, that somebody didn't want me, and I now had in the back of my mind, I'm going to show you what you're missing.
His form has been nothing short of sensational, fueling stories that Jimmy may join the Dutch Revolution led by the former Ajax coach Louis van Gaal at Barcelona.
It would be a nice fantasy, but this is a big club and I don't see myself leaving on this moment.
I had no relegation clause. When you go to Atletico Madrid, you never think that you're going to get relegated. That never came in my mind, and it became harder and harder.
And then there was a lot of interest. A couple of clubs moved in for Jimmy, and even Barcelona made inquiries.
I had a lot of interest. Real Madrid, they were flirting a little bit. I had Valencia, and at the time Valencia were doing really well.
Glasgow Rangers was at that time was a big club, and they were seriously interested, and they wanted to put an offer forward.
Dick Advocaat used to be there at the time. I knew Dick from the national team, and he gave me a few calls. Come and play with us.
Sky Business sponsors this report.
Rahul, thank you very much indeed. That was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll be taking a first look at tomorrow's papers in the press preview. When we come back, I'll be joined by my guest,
to stay in the final.
PR consultant and former Conservative Special Advisor Nancy Fielder, the Editor-in-Chief of National World, which has loads of well-known newspaper titles on its books. Among the stories, we'll be discussing this on the front of the Mail on Sunday. Boris and Farage must unite to crush Labour is their headline. We'll be right back.